If you're a new or returning player who wants to farm millions of runes in Elden Ring right at the start of the game to become extremely overpowered without even killing any bosses, these are going to be the best free rune farming methods that you can reach in just 15 minutes after starting the game. Now you can do this at any point in the game, but starting out we're going to be picking the deprived class. Compared to the other classes, this one starts at level 1 with the best base stats in the entire game. This means that if later on you want to swap your character build from a two-handed strength warrior to a mage, your stats will already be ready to do that. And don't worry, even if you're a new player, you won't actually need to fight anything for this whole video. But I will warn you that by the time you're done following this rune farming guide, you might find the starting bosses and early areas of the game too easy. But it's up to you how you play the game. I'm assuming that you've just started the game and you've just finished the tutorial boss and prologue. If you already know where you're going, you can just skip ahead to further in the video. But very early on, you're going to arrive in the open world of Limgrave. The first step resting point is right in front of us. Let's go ahead and activate that. We're just here on the map now. And then if we actually head northwest to the church you can see directly off the cliff in front of us, we can unlock the next site of grace. Now I'm playing the video at a faster speed here. If this is going too fast for you, just use the YouTube settings to play it at a slower speed, and then it'll be easier for you to follow along. And we're going to activate this next site of grace, and then after we can head through the broken wall out towards the forest in the distance to the north. And we're just going to carry on following this path through the forest. Just continue along the path until you reach the other side of it, and you'll see some ruins down the hill below in front of you. So just head to the left side. We're going to avoid these ruins, and you'll see right at the foot of the massive gatehouse in front of us, there's another site of grace, and we're going to want to go and rest at this location because this is where we unlock our mount. And also a new weapon that we'll need later on in the video. And Melina will appear to us and we're going to accept her reward. Now if you press the start button and you navigate to the right, you can hotkey your mount inside your pouch slot. The next place we need to go is along the road to the ruin. Next, if we mount up and we go along the road into the gatehouse ruins, you can find a map fragment just here on the ground. And then if you continue down the path and go left, you'll find a black carriage. Here, if you actually hop off your mount, you can break this guard's back, and then we can loot the chest that he was guarding. Inside this chest, we're going to find the flail weapon, which we can't actually equip yet, but we will need it later. Now, if we look on our map again, we can see that we're right here, just to the northeast from the gatehouse ruins. We now need to travel east all the way along this path and across the bridge. And then we're going to take the path to the north and just keep following it into the fog to the next location. You can just follow where I'm going in real time now along this path away from the ruins. And I've heard quite a few people are struggling with the Elden Ring DLC, so I will be making a very easy to follow early build guide that literally deletes all of the bosses in the base game, and you'll find the DLC a lot easier to handle. So now we're going to head over the bridge and we're going to take the dirt track to the left here. And now we can just follow this road all the way along, ignoring all of the enemies on it. Some of them will try to shoot you with their arrows, but you'll be fine. There will be some enemies hiding underneath this bridge, so I recommend just going to the right and around the ruin here, and then rejoining the path on the other side. Eventually, we're going to reach the end of the road, and we're going to arrive at the third church of Marika. So come in the door here, and we can unlock the next resting point of grace. Now, if you want to find the map fragment here, there is a guide in the description below. But now from this resting point of grace, we're going to go behind the broken wall just to the right here and just head through the bushes, and then you can hop over these rocks and you'll see there's a lake behind the church here. Just to your right, through these next bushes, you'll see a little wisp of light, and this is actually the location of a hidden teleporter which leads us through a massive shortcut into an endgame area of Dragon Barrow. But don't worry, we're not going to need to fight anything there. So now you've arrived, just run through this enemy's legs and then we can mount up and just head onwards down the hill. At the bottom of this hill, you eventually come to a stone bridge, which you can see in the distance. There's so many checkpoints in this game, it's probably one of the reasons why it's considered one of the easier Souls games. So after you've activated that, you can head across the bridge. And don't be worried about this massive dragon. I call him Harry the Friendly Dragon because he never attacks us. You can just run right past him. As long as you're on your mount, he won't catch up with you. And then when we get to the other side of the bridge here, we're going to bear to the left. That's going to be your next landmark that you're heading to. And if you look off the cliff here, you'll see there's an updraft of wind. Now, if you jump off the cliff and land where that updraft is, you won't take any fall damage. So after you've done that, just turn back around and go between the cliff and the tower, and you'll see there's another site of grace right in front of you here. So now we're going to rest here to unlock it, and this is where our first farming method is actually located. And it is a lot slower than the next one I'm going to show you, but it is still worth knowing about because we do need to level up a couple of times, and this is a really quick way of doing so. So just head down the hill towards the underside of the bridge. And if you actually look behind you, a stone boulder is going to appear out of nowhere, and suddenly it's going to start rolling towards you. So you want to dodge to the side here so that the boulder will fall off the cliff in front of you. And when that boulder is destroyed, it's going to give you 1,952 runes for doing literally nothing. So if you head back up the hill and then just go and rest again, that boulder will respawn and you can just repeatedly farm this location over and over again. And I timed myself just running there, dodging to the right hand side so the boulder always falls off the cliff, and then obviously sprinting back again. So every 25 seconds you're going to be making 1,952 runes. It's going to give you 281,000 runes per hour. But do not sit here and farm it for an hour, it's going to be a massive waste of your time. And so instead there is a much faster method which is right next to this one. But before you go there, just do this a few times so you can level up your dexterity to level 13. And then if you have any more runes left over, I recommend just smashing them all into endurance so you have additional stamina. It's going to make the next farming method even faster. So what we're going to do now is from this site of grace is we're going to turn around and we're going to head back to that updraft, and we're just going to jump inside of it so we can get back onto the cliff edge. And now if you look around, you'll see a massive, really big tree off there in the distance. We're just going to run towards that next. So once you reach the tree, come around its base and you'll find another updraft that you can jump in to access the cliffs above. And once we're on top, we're going to be at Fort Faroth, where we can pick up the Radagon Saucer Seal, which is a talisman that boosts our stats while we have it equipped. So rest outside at this side of grace, and now we can go ahead and enter the fortress. It's easy enough to run through, just go inside and then head to the left, just around the wooden wall here, avoiding the bats that are going to try and poison you. Head through the dark room to the brightly lit door and then get yourself up that ladder to the top of the tower. Once you're on top, you can loot the area, but I'm just going to drop down onto the roof below. Make sure you jump, otherwise you can fall down the crack in the middle. Then we're going to run past this first hole, we're going to ignore the night summon here, and then we're going to head around to the hole at the back here where you can drop in and then turn around. And if you go right and smash through this wooden wall just to the side here, you can then run and jump across. And then once you're across, if you walk around this next wooden wall, you're going to find some rats on the other side. So make sure you have that dodge roll prep. Once you've dropped down this hole, you'll find a body, and on that body is Radagon's Saucer Seal. And after this, you can just go ahead and let those rats take you down. You're going to respawn outside, and now we can start the second farming method, which you can actually mess up. So please do pay close attention. Firstly, we're going to equip Radagon's Saucer Seal, which is going to boost our dexterity by 5. So from 13 to 18, which is exactly what we need to equip the flail weapon that I showed you how to get earlier. And we're going to be using this for its unique bleed effect. You can use another weapon if you like the katana, which I already have another video on how to get linked below. And if you didn't know, you can two-hand your weapon by holding down the Y button on the Xbox controller and then pressing the right hand attack button. And then your character will hold it with two hands so it does more damage. Now if you turn around from the resting spot of grace outside of this castle, you'll see a massive dragon lying down and sleeping right in front of you. Now, since the last video I made over 2 years ago, it's been discovered that you can actually farm this dragon repeatedly over and over again without killing it. And this is the part you don't want to mess up. So as you can see, we're going to run over and attack this dragon, and it literally does no damage. But don't worry, if we do keep attacking it, you'll get a chunk of bleed damage, which hits for a percentage of the enemy's health. So that's 13,000 damage taking a big chunk of its health bar down. Now it's actually even faster with the flail weapon to trigger this bleed effect. If you just hold down the flail's special attack button, you can actually spin the flail and get multiple hits per second. This is going to end up applying that bleed effect even faster, which is obviously where all our damage is coming from against this enemy. So I'm standing just where these mushroom-like things are, and just make sure that the flail is actually hitting the hitbox of the enemy to register all those hits as much as possible. Otherwise, you'll just be wasting your stamina. And once your stamina is consumed, you can just stand there for a second, let it regenerate, and then just carry on doing this over and over. It'll take you around 3 minutes 30 seconds to defeat the dragon, but it's very important that you don't take it down completely. As you can see, it's eventually going to get to this very low amount of health. It's going to have this much health left. And it always works out to be exactly the same amount of health, because obviously it's percentage-based damage. So you're not going to like accidentally kill it. You'll see it gets to this much health, just like on my screen. And this is where the really important part comes in. At this point, you want to mount up and stand next to the dragon just here, and then start attacking it normally to apply that bleed effect again. And this time it's going to kill the dragon. And as soon as that bleed effect triggers, you actually see the dragon's tail flinch slightly. At this point, as soon as you see that, you're going to need to sprint back to the resting spot of grace on your horse. And you can press the left trigger or X button to dismount, and then you can just spam the Y button to rest at the resting spot as soon as possible. After you actually rest here, you'll then see that we've gained 50,000 runes, but the dragon, if you turn around, is still alive. And it used to be that you could only kill this dragon once, but now you can actually kill it repeatedly and farm it over and over again. And this is after the DLCs come out and after all the updates have come out, it still works. Remember though, if you don't run back to that resting place fast enough, you'll kill the dragon and it won't respawn. You don't have to be ridiculously fast, you have some leeway there, but just don't mess that part up. So anyway, I ran this rune farming spot a bunch of times, and it takes 4 minutes to do each run, which gives you 750,000 runes per hour. But there's actually a way to make this even faster, so don't sit here and farm it for an hour. You'll be wasting your time. So before I show you the third and final farming technique, you're going to want to get the following items. The first item can be obtained by opening the map and fast traveling back to the starting area of the first step resting spot where we started this video. Once you arrive, we're going to jump down to the left off this cliff, and then we're just going to head and follow the cliff to the left here, and we're going to look off the edge of the cliff for the updraft on the beach below. And then you can just jump off this cliff onto the beach, and because of that updraft being there, as long as you land nearby, you won't take any fall damage. And if you look to the left where the beach itself is, you'll see a golden pickled fowl foot right in a cluster of bodies here, protected by some undead. But you can just run there, pick it up, and then leave. Now this golden pickled fowl foot is a consumable that increases the rune gain you get by 30% for 3 minutes. I also made a guide on how you can craft and farm all of the ingredients you need to get an unlimited amount of this item. And I would highly recommend you do that because they're just useful throughout your entire playthrough. I'm going to link that video below in the description, and I'd recommend that you just know the ingredients you need, because then you can carry on farming them as you're playing organically instead of doing it all at once, which is a bit boring. So that will give you a 30% boost to your rune gain, but the next item actually gives you a permanent boost. It's the Golden Scarab, and this is a talisman that increases the runes you obtain by 20% for as long as you're wearing it. And I made a video on how to get this and linked it down below in the description too. So when you're using both these items at once, you're going to get a 50% increase to your runes gained, which obviously makes any farming method you're doing just much more efficient. And before I talk about the fourth farming method, the third one is obviously to go back to killing the dragon, but this time with 18 dexterity, so you can use that flail, and with the Golden Scarab talisman equipped for that 20% boost. And again, before you kill the actual dragon, you're going to eat the Golden Pickled Fowl Foot. And with both these effects active, you're going to get 75,000 runes per run, which is going to give you 1,125,000 runes every hour. And hilariously, you can make this farming method even faster if you upgrade the flail weapon to +15, so you deal even more damage for 1.5 million runes per hour. But in my opinion, this is just a waste of your time and resources to do this, because this is only supposed to be an early game farming location. So once you actually reach level 50 to 60, you're already going to be massively over leveled for this early game area. And if you want a guide on the next best farming locations for the mid game onwards, you can check out that next video just over here. But as far as early game farming locations go, this is definitely one of the best to get to level 50 fast.